Take 7. I hope this one actually works, because I don't feel like recording another 15-minute video. Okay, thanks. Okay, so basically, the topic is ancient slavery. I am not covering the Atlantic slave trade. Do not whine. We all know how liberals love to say that the white man created slavery and the white man ruined everything and the blah 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 blah, the oppressed man keeping you down, whatever. That's bullshit, honey. That is so 110% bullshit. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. Hold on, wait. There we go. Okay, so basically, slavery, the history. Slavery's actually been around since the Neolithic era, which is about 11,000 years ago. And that was when humanity discovered agriculture, in that they didn't have to eat everything and then leave. They could actually stay and then replant. So they started settling down, creating their societies, and boom, slavery actually became a thing that they liked and needed. So, that said, slavery has been around for quite some time, and everyone has enslaved everyone. For instance, the Asians. Genghis Khan, I'm not sure if you know who that is, but if you don't, pick up a fucking history book, dear God. Anyway. Have you ever heard the phrase, don't shoot the messenger? Okay, well, Genghis Khan is actually the reason for that. What happened was, basically, I'm having an ADD moment, I'm sorry. It's 3:30 in the morning, so, whatever. So basically, Genghis Khan sent out 3 messengers to the Shah of, holy shit, I am going to butcher this again, Khwarezmad, something. So he sent out his messengers to see the Shah. This is after they originally went to a different dude, but out to see the Shah, and the Shah was offended and all that, and the messenger's like, listen, bro, he's kind of a badass, so just surrender and live in peace. And he was like, oh, nay. So he beheaded one of them, I think at least one, and sent them back to Genghis, and Genghis was like, oh, that bitch. So rudesies. So Genghis was a little offended, so he sent out his guys, his army, and they took the city. Duh. And basically they did the usual raping, pillaging, murdering, pouring molten silver down into the orifices of the Shah. Ouchies, that hurts. For being a rude dick. And after this, they enslaved everyone. Yeah. So, after they enslaved everyone, blah blah blah, that's the whole thing. And then, one of my favorite topics ever is the Roman occupation of Britain. Like, holy freaking Christ, I have seen more documentaries on this and read more crap on this than I've probably read on anything. Roman occupation of Britain is friggin' crazy interesting. Sorry, my nose ring is bothering me because I don't have it placed right at the moment. So, I've obviously talked about Boudica. Okay, queen of the Iceni tribe, wife of an idiot. Her husband Prasutagus basically decided to borrow a shit ton of money from the Roman Empire, leaving his family in debt. And I'm not sure if you know anything about the Roman traditions, ancient Rome. Women could not inherit, and he had daughters. So after he left everybody in crazy amounts of debt, he's like, you know, this will probably go over well. Oh, nay, it did not. So his wife, Boudica, and their daughters, after he died, were beaten and raped, and their people enslaved. because he was a dumbass and decided to borrow a lot more money than he had the ability to pay back. So, you know about her whole rebellion, leading her people up against the Romans, burning down a shit ton of, well, 3 large cities, but still pretty badass, okay? So, you know, there's all that. Oh, and did I mention the part where the Romans enslaved the people? Because that happened. That was the thing. That was the whole thing. Then there's the Africans. Not talking about the Atlantic slave trade here. I'm talking about ancient Africa. Most of their stuff is indentured servants, or indentured servitude. Or basically, you're in debt to somebody, and what you do is you work it off by being a slave. They also had that blurry line between free peasants and feudal peasants. I don't know if you know about feudalism, but basically, long story short, you have the lord and you have the peasants. And the peasants are tied to the land. Their children will be tied to the land. Their children's children will be tied to the land. In return for the protection and the home that the Lord gives them, they, you know, tie the land, get the crops, take care of the livestock, all that crap. Anyway, so yeah. So there was that gray area right there. And hey, funny fact, a lot of Africans actually had slaves for the specific purpose of ritual sacrifice. Ha! Funsies. Then there were the Aztecs. They had kind of a weird system set up because their slavery wasn't hereditary. Whereas with most slaves, if you were the son of a slave, you were a slave. That's how that goes, sugar. But not there. No, what they did was, it was a personal thing. So if you were like a criminal, if you murdered somebody, instead of getting murdered yourself, you know, being executed, you could work your time off as a slave. If you were broke, you could sell yourself as a slave for a while. I'm trying to think what else. Sorry. You could also buy your freedom, if you had enough money. If you could prove abuse in a court of law or whatever passed for a court of law, you were set free. But if you were an incorrigible slave, which means that you were such a shitty slave, like, you stole, you were lazy, you were banging the boss's daughter, whatever. If you were such a shitty slave that you've been sold 3 times, you were put up for ritual sacrifice. Like the other slaves used for ritual sacrifice, because they really had great times back then. Then there were the American Indians. Their slaves are usually retrieved during raids, mostly used for small-scale labor, but also used for, guess, ritual friggin' sacrifice. Dear Jesus. Yeah, so I mean, other than being put on a friggin' slab and sliced open for some sort of god, slaves were also used as servants. Oh shit. Bed warmers. Go out, be a prostitute, and make your master some money, whatever. Construction workers. I mean, how the hell else do you think the pyramids were built? Do you think Amenhotep or Hatshepsut? God. Went out and built their own shit? No thanks. And they were also used as like cannon fodder, pre-cannons. Because cannons didn't come around until like late 15th century, but that's not really important right now. Like basically, like with the Genghis Khan thing, I don't know, did I mention? No, I'll mention now. Big thing with Genghis Khan was what he would do with his slaves is he would march them along with his armies, and then he would use them, like throw them in catapults over the walls into cities. I mean, they'd be plague infested, or they'd be dead, or they'd just be alive and really, really fucking freaked out. You know, as a psychological tactic to scare the shit out of the citizens of the city. So that's how that went. A lot of ancient cultures, they would use their slaves as mincemeat, basically. What they would do is, marching into battle, they would send out all their slaves to cut down the numbers of the opposition as well as wear them out. And then when, all the slaves are gone, they send in their actual trained warriors. And everybody's like, oh shit, we should not have wasted all our time on those guys, but whatevs. That's how it goes. A lot of the ways that, one of the most popular ways slaves are captured was by somebody taking a city or a town. Like the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II. You read about the siege of Constantinople, right? Well, if you haven't, you need to. It's a thing. It's a whole thing. Constantinople is basically considered impenetrable. Huge-ass walls, surrounded by water. It was a pretty hard feat to actually get. But Mehmed II was like, nah, bitch, I can do this. So he proposed to these citizens of Constantinople, listen, if you guys will just surrender, back down, and accept me as your new ruler, I won't enslave and murder you all. Pinky promise. And they're like, I don't think that guy looks very trustworthy, so no. So he laid siege. And after the siege ended, because he took control of the trade route and a couple other things, but basically, after it ended, his people raped, pillaged, and murdered like crazy. And everybody who wasn't dead was sold into slavery, because that's how that goes. It was a custom. I mean, hell, there was a raping, pillaging, and murdering time limit. You had a specific amount of days to do that before they're like, okay, now you guys, you're done. You've killed enough. Okay. But yeah, so a funny thing, one of the first known attempts to reject slavery from society was led by the Stoics. They were philosophers who focused mainly on human freedoms and cosmic determinism in Hellenistic Greece. But yeah, kind of interesting. I mean, all the way that far back, they were like, maybe it's not cool to do this, but we're still going to do it anyway. Because people are people, and that's how that goes. Yeah, interesting fact. St. Patrick, as in St. Patrick's Day, as in Kiss Me, I'm Irish, whatever. He was a slave. He was actually enslaved as a child or a teen before he went and did the whole monk thing. So it was Aesop, as in Aesop's Fables. Yeah, you know that guy. I think he was also killed by his master, but don't quote me on it. And Spartacus is one of the most famous slaves of all time, and I swear to God, if you actually need me to explain who he is, I'm going to smack you upside the head. Because obviously you should know if you've ever picked up a history book in your life. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, that's about that. If I've left anything out, please feel free to let me know. But yeah, for you social justice wankers out there, told ya. If you'd like, I can source this, but I don't really feel I need to. But again, if you'd like me to, I can. Alright, well, you guys have a great night. I think I'm gonna go read. Or sleep. One of those. Anyway, okay, bye.